Today I am taking you to see Tape Face at the MGM Grand. I'm going to give you my review of the show, show you the seating chart, tell you about the prices, and I'm going to tell you why you might not be able to find any cheap ticket prices for this show. I'm Mike the Vegas Guy. Thank you for joining me once again as I attempt to rate and review every show playing in Vegas. Let's get into it. If you're not familiar, Tape Face is another America's Got Talent alumnus who has found great success playing on the Las Vegas Strip. He has a huge following and he's been very successful playing in Vegas ever since about 2017, 2018, I'm not sure. He started with a brief run at the Flamingo, then he had his own room at Harrah's that he called the House of Tape, which was an old restaurant space that he had converted. It was a really fun, really intimate showroom. Then the pandemic forced him into the main showroom upstairs when they had those ridiculous seating restrictions. And for the last few years since then, he was playing in the Cabaret Room, sharing the space with Menopause the Musical. Just this year, 2024, when I'm recording this, he has moved to the MGM Grand once again with his very own room all to himself. It's the space that was formerly the home of the Brad Garrett Comedy Club. Brad Garrett has moved upstairs, and this is in the underground. It's a great location. You can't miss it if you're parking yourself there or taking rideshare. That's the rideshare and parking garage entrance. Also, if you're coming from the monorail, and if you exit to the right when you get off the monorail, not to the left, and you'll end up in the underground there. You'll walk right by this theater. It's a great, intimate cabaret space that is perfect for this kind of intimate, interactive show. This is an interactive show. In case audience participation is not something you get excited about, you might not want to go see this show. Almost the entire show is Tape Face going into the audience, bringing people up on stage, putting them in really fun situations. Nothing embarrassing or difficult, challenging. It's always very approachable, partly because Tape Face does not speak. If you truly have no idea, he has tape over his mouth. And his style of performance is probably the closest thing to compare it to is Blue Man Group, at least their comedy end of their show. The fact that Tape Face does not speak adds to the comedy. It allows for really fun interactions with the audience because you just don't know what he's about to do or where he's going with the bit. You have to just roll with the punches. It's very fun. A lot of his performance style is based in puppetry and performance art. He walks out on stage with a satchel and he pulls most of the props out of his bag. They're all found objects. It could be easy for some people to criticize this show because all of the props he uses are very inexpensive household items. I would be quick to point out that although he does use household items throughout the show, it's the production value that gets added to it that also makes it an elevated experience. And because he doesn't speak, so much of the show and the storytelling that goes on is done through music and audio and the lighting cues. The real entertainment value happens in your own imagination, trying to figure out what is going to happen next in his show. I realize this might be difficult to explain. You know how to YouTube. Go look him up and go watch some of his performance styles from America's Got Talent if you need more of an explanation for what he does. I like to focus more on your experience coming to see this show when you are in Vegas, so let's get into that. Let's show you the seating chart here. This is a very intimate theater. It's all tables and chairs. There are some booths at the back. You'll see here there are 3 pricing types. VIP right down front at those tables. The final cost, including all taxes and fees when you book directly through MGM's website, $121.90. That VIP price does include a swag bag. You'll get a VIP lanyard. There's an autographed little cartoon photo. There's a bag of stuff. So you do get the best seats, and if you're a big fan, you get to take home a bunch of souvenirs with that price, if that's valuable to you. Of course, if you are sitting down front, you are more likely to get chosen to come on stage, so be aware of that. Then you'll see the mid-range GA1 for $89.20 and the rear blue GA2 $67.40. Now, something you should understand, this theater utilizes Maitre D seating, which I'm sure you know all about because you've watched Chapter 3 of my ticketing tutorial, How Seating Works, and I'm being sarcastic right now because that is probably my least watched video on this channel. I can't force you to watch my videos, but those tutorials, I plug them every time. They do provide a lot of great information if you are trying to purchase tickets on your own. It is important to know for this show, Maitre D style seating, you will not be choosing your specific seats. You will be seated in that section within the price type you purchased at a first come, first served basis. Someone from the showroom staff will seat you at the door, just like when you go to a restaurant and a maitre d' would seat you at a table. Now, of course, this is something I elaborate more on in that tutorial, should you choose to watch it, but it is possible to get perhaps a free upgrade if you did purchase the lowest price ticket in the back. And you have no way of controlling this, but if the show is not very full the night you happen to go, the front of house staff will always dress the house accordingly. If no one has purchased the VIP seats, theoretically, they're going to put people who purchased cheaper tickets in those tables. They're not going to have the entire VIP section empty when the show starts just because no one bought them. They're going to let everyone sit in those seats. That's just an example, no guarantees, but it's something to keep in mind when you purchase any show that has general admission seating. Now, normally this is where I would talk about discounts and I would show you my discount stoplight. Unfortunately, this show doesn't have too many discount deals out there. Like I always say, those prices I listed on that seating chart are the full price including the fees. When you try to purchase tickets, they will advertise a lower rate before the fees. They advertise usually between $47 and $49, depending on which third-party broker you might be purchasing through. But usually when you get the tickets in the cart after the fees are added, it doesn't come out to any less than that $67 rate. I have occasionally seen it fluctuate by a few dollars. I think I saw it for $64 and change as opposed to $67 on one of the brokers. Like I say, always, if you do the homework I tell you about in part 2 of my tutorial series, shop around and find the best price. If you find a price less than that $67, it's a totally fair price to pay for this show. If you were to get seated in the very last row, it's still a small room. You're going to enjoy the show just fine from there. As a general rule, personally, I think any show ticket between $65 to $70 is a fair price for any show in Vegas these days. I personally wish you could get into this show for a little less. Just my opinion. For example, if you're a family who's a fan of America's Got Talent and you're coming to Vegas and you're determined to see at least one show starring an alumni from America's Got Talent, you could go to see Piff the Magic Dragon, as I mentioned in my previous review of his show, for $35 to $40. I do find it a little surprising that Tapeface does not seem to be competing in that price range. It is a small show in a small showroom. He is a pretty big star from America's Got Talent. He's got a great following. If that's worth it to you to spend more on that VIP package, etc., you're going to have a great time. You're going to get exactly the Tapeface you expect from television and a little more. It's kind of a weird, oddball kind of show. Personally, I enjoy this show a lot. It's a lot of fun. I will say, if you are a fan who's been to his show before in the past over at Harrah's, etc., it is pretty much the same show. The venue has changed, but not much else has changed in his show. I'm not complaining, just informing you of that. It's a rock solid show. It's a lot more fun than you might think it would be. If you are someone who's on the fence, you've seen him on TV and you say to yourself, well, what could he do for an hour or more? You'll be pleasantly surprised by how entertaining the show is. That having been said, it's not for everyone. It is basically a one-man show. The production value feels cheaper than it actually is, given all of his handmade props. I can see why some people who are looking for a more high-end experience, if you are the type of person who's coming to Vegas to see Cirque du Soleil, you're probably not the target audience for Tapeface. So because it's not for everyone, and because the prices are just a little higher than I think they should be for such a small show, I'm giving this my 4-star great show rating. It's a great show. It is certainly worth seeing, but you could make the argument that it is not necessarily worth the prices they are currently charging. But hey, they're paying rent on their own room in a hotel in Vegas, so I understand why they are where they're at. Tell me in the comments if you've seen Tapeface, if you're a fan, do you plan on coming to see him next time you're in Vegas? It is fun to see him in this new room that he gets to decorate himself. It's a fun little show if you've never gone. Thank you again to my Patreon subscribers. Thanks to everyone who's liking and hitting that subscribe button. It really means a lot to me. This channel is growing faster than I expected it to, so thank you so much. Until next time, I'm Mike the Vegas Guy.